Joining me now is Glenn Beck, co-founder of Blaze Media and nationally syndicated radio host of the Glenn Beck Program. Glenn Beck, thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
It's an absolute honor to have you. So I know you're following this mayoral race that just concluded. Zohran Mamdani, New York City's Muslim socialist mayor. You have said that he's a combination of radical leftism and political Islam. Now, I'm with you on the radical leftism. I personally am not getting an Islamist vibe off of him. He's super pro-trans, for example. His mother is Hindu. He, to me, reads like just your garden variety Nepo baby socialist. What am I missing?
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Linda Sarsour has said that CARE was behind a lot of his campaign. And, you're either a leftist, these are her words, you're either a leftist or you're an Islamist, or maybe she didn't say that, you're for Islam or something, but you can't be both. And they're going to hold his feet to the fire. So I don't know. I know he is a committed Marxist. He believes in that. Where he stands on Islam, I don't know. I just don't like the fact that he is, wanting to globalize the intifada. That's a big warning sign that he, it doesn't have a bad thing to really say about Hamas. Yeah. That's another bad sign. That's not Islam. That's an Islamist that goes to that space, and a very dangerous one. Unfortunately, he's not the only one. I mean, we're seeing it happen, and they're all coming in sheep's clothing all over the West. If we don't pay attention, we're in trouble. There was a story I just read this morning, a small town in Germany that has a Christmas, fest that they do every Christmas in this town. And they just stopped it. They've canceled it this year because there is a mosque by the town square that would be offended. And the police said it will cause security concerns, and it will cost more to protect the Christmas market than to run the Christmas market. And so the town had to stop it. I'm really tired of being called a bigot or a racist or not tolerant. I don't have a problem with the mosque. Why are you trying to destroy Christmas? What is your problem? I'm not the one who says, if you don't believe my faith, I can take you as a slave. I'm not the one that says, I can marry a child off at 14, 13. I'm not any of those things. And all of those things are against the Western culture. They are diametrically opposed to Western culture, and I find them evil. I don't believe in cutting people's hands off for stealing. If you do, that's fine. Find a place. The West does not stand with that. And I am afraid there are too many things, too many signs all around that people might say, I'm really not part of that, but they'll play footsies with it. I love the people that are, for trans people or, for gay rights and then march with Hamas. You're the first to be killed. You're the first to be killed. So if he's serious, that's trouble. If he's not serious about that and he's playing footsie with it, he is in trouble. He's in trouble.
Yeah, I think we're really in this moment where people are suddenly realizing that the West is not only worth defending, but in need of defending, the values this country was founded on. I think that's part of the reason that immigration has become the #1 issue in the country politically, certainly for the right. But there's another reason, which is the economic piece of it. And I want to play you this clip from Mamdani's victory speech and then make the point and see if you agree with me. So let's have that.
Thank Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties.
So what to me is so amazing about that clip is that it's all people who are immigrants who are working in these service industry jobs. And to me, it is so emblematic of what the Democratic Party is right now, which is you have sort of rich, overeducated, white, in most cases, progressives who now have built an economy that depends on a slave caste, often of illegal labor, to do jobs that were once jobs that gave working class Americans a dignified life. What did you make of this clip?
I would agree with you on that. I think you left out one part. This upper class, overeducated, white politician or mainstream politician, if you will, as they look, and they rail against the millionaires, and yet they're friends with all the billionaires. I mean, you're getting money from George Soros and Bill Gates and all of the Tides Foundation. And don't talk to me about how you don't like the rich. The rich are calling the shots in your own campaign, in your own life, and I find it reprehensible. The other thing I because I played that clip on the radio the next morning, and the thing I pulled away from is we are back to Teddy Roosevelt's hyphen American speech, that there's no such thing as a hyphen American. You're either an American or you're not. And as he said, I've met people who are naturalized Americans. I've met people who want to be Americans, who are more American than people who are born here in America. They come here for a reason. They understand it's the rights that they didn't have in their country at home, the protections that they had, the ability to break out of the class and be whoever it is they want to be. That every time that a politician starts dividing us into class and into hyphen Americans, you're planting the seeds of our own destruction. E pluribus unum, from many, one. And the one is just, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And governments are instituted among men to protect those rights. That's our one. That's our one. That's what we all came, my family came for in the 1800s. Your family came. And they all came because that was a completely different idea, and it's still unique. We're the only, look at Great Britain and how many 4,000 people have been put in jail in the last 24 months. 4,000 people on speech. On speech, we're still a very unique place. That's our one. Come together on that, because I can live side by side with anyone. I don't care how they vote. If they believe in that, I can live next to of anyone of any faith, as long as you understand I'm the same as you. We're both children of God. You can call God whatever you want to call God. I'll call God, but I have the same rights, and I get them from either the universe or your tree or whatever. But it's a higher power than man and government.
Yeah, I wonder though, Glenn, how you would advise Republicans who now live in Virginia, who know that their neighbors overwhelmingly voted for somebody who texted about fantasizing about conservatives being killed, their children being killed. I think a lot of people are feeling very betrayed by how their neighbors voted. You brought up Mamdani defending chants to globalize the intifada. 70% of Jewish Americans living in New York voted against him. They are feeling very betrayed by their neighbors. You are a uniter and not a divider. You've been warning about civil war for 10 years now. What is your advice to people feeling so betrayed by their neighbors' choices?
This is going to sound trite, but it is the only thing that gets me through the day. And I mean, we're an awful lot alike. You do this for a living. I do this for a living. We are paid to look at all of this stuff every day, digest it all, and then select the things that we think are the most important. So there's more than what we talk about that we look at every day. And it's poison for the soul. It's just awful. It's evil. It's awful. The only thing that gets me through is getting up every day and saying, I know these things are true about God. I know that I'm a child of God. We're all children of God, and he loves us. I know those things are true. He loves us, and he's not neutral in the affairs of man. He has it. Everything else, I'm just going to be grateful for. These are not enemies of ours. These are enemies of his. We have to do everything we can to stay on his side. He's never on our side. If you look at the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln talked about how is it that both sides can claim God? How in their churches can both sides say God's for slavery, God's against slavery? They're both fighting in the same name of the same God. He's not. We have to be humble enough to be on his side. And we've seen, I was very upset after the 2020 election. I didn't think it was a fair election. And I thought, we are doomed. We're doomed. And look what happened. That time gave Donald Trump a season to mature, grow into the president, take a breath and go, okay, what did I just experience? Who are the real enemies? If I had this chance to do it over again for 4 years, what would I do? In that time period where we were all, we're doomed, we're doomed, we're doomed, he was preparing. And if you don't believe that was a miracle, that he turned his head, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a bigger miracle than that. He turns his head, clips his ear, and he lives. And now look at what we've had in the last 9 months. God's not neutral in these things. We have to do our part. But the worst thing we can do is sow division, sow hatred, sow distrust. We have to be aware of what's happening around us. We can't hide from it, but we can't play into it, or it'll cripple you.
Welcome back to Batya on NewsNation. Now, more of my conversation with Glenn Beck, where we discuss the GOP infighting, the state of America, and Charlie Kirk's legacy for Glenn personally. So speaking of civil wars, there's also a mini one happening on the right now over Nick Fuentes, whether he should be debated with or not, whether his ideas should be given a hearing or not. You have people saying, basically, our enemy, if you're on the right, your enemy is the left. I don't have any enemies on my right. We need to fight the bad guys on the left. And then you have other people saying, actually, no, it's extremely important to police the kooks from our side, people like Fuentes, who's an avowed white nationalist. It's extremely important to insist that we can be American nationalists who are not white nationalists to protect that multiracial coalition that President Trump built, and to say not Fuentes. Where do you fall in terms of those two camps?
Well, I don't think he's worth anybody's time, quite honestly, because I don't think he actually believes anything. I think he's from this new culture that says the most outrageous things for attention, and I'm not going to give him any attention. I am very clear on anti-Semitism. I am very clear on who and what we should stand for. I am very clear on fascism, communism, authoritarianism, and the U.S. Constitution. So I don't think he's worth debating, because there's no logic behind any of that. It's rage, et cetera, and I think it's performance art. However, know that exists, and that will affect people. So now let's look and take another step back from that. Okay, so people hear that and take it seriously. It's our job to understand, why are they susceptible to that? Why? how is it that anyone with any sense of logic and decency can fall for that? They've been disenfranchised by something. What is that? I think we saw the beginning of this with why Mamdani won, and why the election didn't go. I mean, they never go the Republicans' way or the Democrats' way, whoever the incumbent is. But what was the problem? Why didn't we connect? Because we were still talking about cultural things, and right now, people are afraid for their job. They're afraid they can't make ends meet. Young people, if you grew up and you don't remember 9/11, so you don't remember a world with the airport where you could just walk up to the plane. You don't know. You don't remember, a time without the Patriot Act. You don't remember a time where the banks weren't getting bailed out by the federal government while your mom and dad are losing their job, or COVID, where your family lost their job, lost everything, and yet Home Depot can be open. But if I owned a true hardware store, I couldn't stay open. Somehow or another, they were immune, but I wasn't. If that's your framework, and you have grown up in a society where they've said to you as a young man, you're bad, you're the problem, you're racist, you shouldn't even be treated equally, you should be slighted because of your heritage, communism is neat, socialism is neat, and America is bad. If that's the stew you grew up in, that's why you listen to somebody like that. And we have to understand where they're coming from. We have to meet them where they live, not on our terms, on their terms, and understand that is real. Perception is reality. So that's their real reality, that this is the way things are. We must go in and meet them there. If we don't, we're never going to connect with them. We have to listen first. How did you get there? But only engage with people who are honest. If you ask honest questions and you are honest on both sides, that means I will change my mind if you bring up something that I look at and go, wow, I think you're right on that. Then that means I have to change my position. If I'm not willing to change my position, you've brought up something that should have changed my mind, and I recognize that that's a really good point. It should change my mind, but I'm not moving anywhere because I want to win. Then you're not an honest broker. You're not looking for truth. Only engage with those people who are looking for truth, but you'll only find them if you first come to them and say, how did you get there? What are you thinking? Tie those together, because I can't tie that together.
It sounds like what you're saying is, that if you tell young men for a decade that they're the problem, they're toxic, they're poisonous, their whiteness is a sin, and their gender is violence, they're going to start to believe you at some point. Finally, I wanted to play you a video that I found while I was preparing for this interview. Let's have that.
Thank you, everybody. More importantly, we have Glenn Beck here, everybody.
I'm not sucking up to Charlie, because I just said this to him on my show. This guy holds a lot of the responsibility of the win. A lot of the credit comes to Charlie and what you've built. You're fantastic.
Well, it is. I will do better receiving that, but it's the Turning Point team that deserves the credit.
So that was
he was an amazing man.
I assume the last time you saw Charlie, it was right after the election. What's it like watching that back now?
A couple of things. It's amazing how you don't have awareness of the times that you're living in or the people that you're around sometimes. I mean, if you're standing with, the president, or you're in the Oval Office, you got it. But when you're around somebody who is a peer, like Charlie was, around somebody who's just doing what they do and kind of what you do, you don't necessarily recognize the time you live in and how important what that person is doing, how deeply important that is. I knew that Charlie was different. I had tremendous respect for Charlie. I meant what I said. He was the really one of the key reasons why Donald Trump won.
Glenn Beck, God bless and protect you. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's an honor. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.